All right, welcome everybody to this afternoon's webinar on emergency care planning. I'm glad everybody could join us. And I want to welcome Becky Clark. Becky is the manager of the day program. Most of you probably know her, and she's going to be our presenter today and talk about emergency care planning and show us an emergency care plan that we've created here at McCormick. Before we get started, for housekeeping, there is a Q&A. So if you have questions, Becky will answer questions throughout and then at the end. So we just ask that you type them into the Q&A function, which if you move your mouse or touch your screen, you should see at the bottom of your screen. So type your questions in there and we'll get to them. And otherwise, I will turn it over to Becky.
Okay, perfect. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. I have a little PowerPoint presentation to just give us a bit of framework today. And then I'll share my screen also for actually completing the care plan. So I do have a bit of an agenda, and although I like to be very casual, so like Tara said, if you have questions throughout and you feel like you want them answered more urgently, then please feel free to put them in there because we want this to be helpful for everyone and very user friendly. So we're going to go through first, what is a care plan? What are we even talking about? And then what is the emergency care plan? Who created it and why? And then we're gonna, like I said, walk through it on our website, show you where to find it, how to download it, how to print it, and all those sort of useful things. Okay, so what is a care plan? So for anyone who works in like a healthcare type environment, the words care plan are really familiar. So I think it's important just to explain to everyone else, what are we even talking about when we're talking about a care plan? So very basically, a care plan is a document, whether it's electronic or paper, and it basically guides the level of care and the support that a particular person needs. So it's very individualized, it's very customized. So here in the day program, every single client who comes to the day program has a care plan. And we have recreation specific care plans, social work, nursing, and even a responsive behavior care plan if that's applicable. And the long-term care home, they would have care plans as well. So, and it's really important when we talk about care plans is to even indicate if someone's independent in these different categories. So when we talk about transfers and mobility and grooming and dressing, someone can be independent in that, but we would need to indicate that in the care plan because otherwise, how would a person be directed to know that they're capable of doing certain tasks independently? So that's basically what a care plan is. And you'll see in the emergency care plan that we've created, we've broken it down into different kind of themes and categories. And that will help you hopefully not miss any important information when you're documenting these sorts of things. So a care plan is only as usable as it is updated. So if you create a care plan and it sits in a drawer for 2 years and then all of a sudden it needs to be used, it's very likely, especially with the population that we're working with, is very likely that it's probably outdated. So it's very important to keep in mind as a person changes, to do some little edits in that document, or every so often just sit down to review it just to see if anything's changed. For most of our people, if you're supporting someone living with dementia or other persons who may be joining the call and they have care partners that are supporting someone, a lot of these conditions are progressive. So you living with the person or supporting them closely, you may not see or really note these little changes as they happen over time. But looking back, you'll see, oh wow, there have been a lot of changes. So that's what a care plan is. And then, so what is the emergency care plan? So we have created the emergency care plan, and it's for the use of people living in the community, because you don't live in a care setting, not long-term care, or the care plans that we have for our people in the day program wouldn't really be very user friendly. We've created a document that a care partner would fill out and complete for the person that they support. So why would you need this? And we'll talk a lot about that, is that you know your person the best. You know the person you're supporting. What if something happens to you suddenly and someone else is put in a position, very short notice, to support your person? So there may be a medical emergency, or you're out of town visiting someone while your person's at the day program or whatever it is, and your car breaks down and you can't get back into town or whatever it is. We have seen these things happen. And all of a sudden it's a neighbor that's sort of, subbing in, or a family member who's less involved in the day-to-day care. So if this care plan was available, at least they have a bit of a guide, a bit of an outline to hopefully support your person and the specific needs that they have. Especially our population, the person may not be able really to articulate, or there may be specialized equipment like mechanical lifts or medication strategies that need to be used in order to really safely and properly care for your person. So that's what the emergency care plan is. It's created for persons living in the community. Hopefully you never have to need it, but there is a bit of peace of mind in knowing that something does exist. Okay. So who created the template and why? So our previous RICHA assessor sat down and started to create this emergency care plan. So based on the RICHA is a home assessment. So there's care plans within that position, but also she was familiar with our care plans. So having that knowledge and sort of knowing the different categories, she created this framework. And then she also worked with paramedics to see, is this useful information? So they were able to provide some feedback. But the most important part, I think, is that the client and caregiver council members were engaged in co-designing the document as well. So these caregivers or care partners were invited to, meet with Lindsay and go through the document and really review it and see, like, is this information relevant? Is the document really overwhelming? Is the language within it really professional based and not really that user friendly for people living in the community or not working in the profession? So together they were able to make some edits and slightly condense the document, but also make it really user friendly. So we definitely invite you to, as you use it, if you have questions or feedback or suggestions, we would love to hear them so that we can further improve the document and really make it as user-friendly and useful as possible. So briefly touched on the why before. So we actually have had caregivers in emergency situations who call us in a panic. They're having a medical event, they're in the hospital themselves. This is not funny. Or they're out of town, things happen, and care partners call us and ask, can my person come to the day program? Can they stay overnight? We've had police call us to see if we could take someone overnight. We do not have any capacity to have people come to the day program in any emergency situation. We don't have extra beds, and we don't have any pull on the long-term care side to have someone bunk in over there either. So unfortunately, we're not able to really support the person, in person in the day program or in the home. But we could try to help guide the sub-in care partner to an emergency care plan and give any tips and information that we can. So this was created out of a couple of situations of people being in this situation. So what would happen if no one was able to, like a neighbor or family member could not support the person, and we couldn't, then the person would have to be taken to hospital until other care was available. Okay. So one component of our emergency care plan package is the emergency care card. So here's a picture of the front side of the care card and the back. So this is business card size, just to fit in your wallet. So right now we don't have this part available for download online, but we're working on it. And the original version has this line, I care for someone living with dementia. So we've edited that, I think just yesterday, to say something like, I care for someone who requires my support, so that it can be used more broadly in the community, not just specifically for people living with dementia. So we'll order cards that have that line on it to make it more broad, like I said, and we'll also work on getting a PDF version that you can download and print and cut and fold or whatever you want to do to put in your wallet. So that's an important piece because obviously if you're, say, in a car accident, or you're out for a walk and you've fallen or something and someone comes to your rescue, they're likely going to look in your wallet for any kind of ID. So hopefully that emergency responder sees this card and then can alert the emergency contact or just start to look into some things, so that the person you support isn't left home alone for longer, or whatever the scenario would be. So that's one part of this emergency care plan package. So an important part to keep in mind. Okay, so the other part is where to find this emergency care plan printable. So on our Care Partners website, so I just have a little screenshot here. This is the Care Partners website that we have, and there's a little button right on that homepage that says emergency care plan. So we'll go to that in a minute and actually navigate the website, click on that, and I'll show you how to download it and to print it and all that sort of stuff. The website is here, or there's obviously the QR code there. But I don't know, Tara, if in the wrap up, if we email that out, if people can't find the link, but we can make sure to get everyone a copy. So just so everyone knows, our current website, we have McCormick Care Group website and then the Care Partners Corner. We are working on getting the website redone right now, so I'm not sure the timeline for completion, but I would say probably in the next few months things will look a little bit differently. So if you have trouble finding it in the future, just let us know and we can point you in the right direction. Okay, so if we don't have any questions quite yet, we are going to actually look at the care plan, go through the sections, and chat about a few things. Before we go right into it, just a couple of things to keep in mind. When you are, a care provider, you probably don't realize all the little steps and all the little details that make providing care more successful, or whatever it may be. So really think about those little details when you're filling this out, if they're going to be critical for that person who's stepping in. You're the expert and they might be totally blindsided and might not even have any experience supporting someone who requires care. So those little tips might come in handy. When we open up the document, if you've already opened it up, you might think, wow, this is a monster. There's a lot here. Don't feel like you have to do it all in one sitting. You probably won't have time to do that anyway, but just chunk it out and do little sections at a time, and eventually you'll have it all finished. So that's just a little tip. And then some people are really digital and like filling things out in a digital form, and other people like pen and paper. So whatever works for you, both are options. But the important part is if you do it in a digital version, just make sure you get a printed copy physically somewhere that someone could access. Okay, so we'll come back to that. So I'm just going to take you to our website now. So this is what the Care Partners website looks like. If you haven't been, so this was our baby that we created throughout the pandemic. And it was a spot for us to put really current, relevant information. Since then, it's had a lot of stuff added to it, so it's a little bit hard to find things. But this is the main landing page for the Care Partners Corner. And it's this little box here, the Emergency Care Plan printable, that you would click to open it up. So right now it's opened up in a web browser, and then this little button over here allows you to download it. So if you want to actually fill it out digitally, like in the PDF form, then you could download it. And then if you also want to print it, so we don't need to see that, but you download it. And then also if you want to print it, you can do it right from here as well. So, and you can do it whatever your printer settings are. What is it, like 22 pages? No, only 16. Well, that says 14. So, so there's where you access it, how to download it, and how to print it. So I have already downloaded a version, so I'm just going to pull that up so that you can see this fillable format. This is the document, and we've already sort of gone through these instructions, but it's all, I think, in my opinion, pretty well organized here. So if you're kind of feeling like we're going at the speed of light right now and it feels a little bit overwhelming, just come back to read the information here and it should help you. But I would say in reviewing it even earlier today, we're thinking like, gosh, this is a really great document. So it's got little tips and stuff in different sections. So hopefully everyone's doing okay. So here is the version, so the emergency care plan, and this has been downloaded, so I could actually fill out this right in the document right now. So if you do have these digital skills and comfort levels, this is a great way to have the information completed, because when you need to come back and review it and update it, it's already here and you don't have to redo it totally. Just would make it a little bit cleaner and quicker. So there's the information here. It's all very straightforward, which you're probably used to filling out 100 times in a year on all the different documents that you fill out. And of course, if there was anything that you didn't feel was appropriate to share on here, you could just leave it blank. Like I said, there's definitely a lot of information here. We feel like it's very fulsome, but if there's some reason you don't want to include something, then just don't fill it out. I just wanted to mention this here. Does this person have a Kool-Aid card? So here's what the Kool-Aid card looks like. So probably you're familiar with it, but if you're not, we can provide some more information. So Kool-Aid, if you go to the VON website, you can register there for the Kool-Aid program too. But this is a little package that paramedics would be looking for. So if they come into your home, you're directed to actually store it right on the fridge. And the paramedics would look for this to get some information, especially about medications and things like that. So we feel like the emergency care plan is a really nice complement to the Kool-Aid card. So if they were stored sort of closely together, then that would be great. But that's when you're filling it out, that's what the Kool-Aid card is. So it makes me think of the Kool-Aid man and bursting through the wall, the 90s, but it's different Kool-Aid. Okay. Medical information, legal information. So this may be like if your neighbor happens to, come in and call the ambulance for you, the care partner, how will they know who else they may need to contact? So I see Tara's here.
Yeah, so there's a question about under the legal section, should people put in the name and contact information for their lawyer here?
I don't know. Like, I feel like a power of attorney probably would have that information. What do you think, Tara?
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't hurt, especially if you don't have copies of your power of attorney and they're being kept at the lawyer, then that would be good for people to know how to get copies of those. So I think, you know, more information is always okay, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. So we've got another page. Obviously, everyone can see here, but your general emergency contact information, medication, and again, there's just little tips along the way here. So you could ask your pharmacist for a printout of the medication, or include that copy from a recent blister pack or something like that. This might be especially important information if your person may be getting transferred to hospital without being able to say anything. Okay, so here's where it gets into more of the care plan specific type things. So in this first page here, we have the schedules and routines. So this is just like a general overview of the person's flow of the day. And on the following pages, there'll be more details about the specific care required for the different categories, if that makes sense. So, typically, what time does the person wake up, and, what is their routine like in the morning? Do they prefer to sleep in, or do they like to have a coffee, and, that kind of stuff. And then in the afternoon, do they enjoy a nap, or particular routines like that. So this is just like a general overview if your person really has a routine that works well, how to stay consistent with that if possible. And then this is just more details, obviously, for the different days of the week. So you could put here, your person comes to McCormick Dementia Services Day Program on Monday and Friday. And then on Thursdays, they go to, Bridge Club or whatever it may be. So you could include that sort of stuff. Because depending on the situation, it may be that, we should alert the day program that they won't be there, whatever the situation is. Okay, so I'm just going to try to zoom in a little bit if we can, just so that everyone is squinting. Is that a bit better? So here's where we're into the more specific care needs. And again, there's reminders at the top. Things change over time. So if you need to, rather than redoing the whole thing, you need to scratch something out, you can add it down here in the other box. So again, all very, straightforward categories, I think. So do they wear glasses, use a wheelchair? Mechanical lift would be really important. Someone who doesn't, know how they transfer or get in and out of bed, to indicate the lift, and then later some instructions on how to actually use that lift would be helpful. Okay, and then a category we call activities of daily living. Again, broken down, so the headings are pretty obvious. So as far as medication, just providing some detail here. So, do they like, obviously, to have a drink of water with their medication? Do they need medications crushed or put in pudding, or, can they take them on their own, or those sorts of things? Any tips and tricks? Tara's back.
Yeah, another question about medications. So should people put down only prescription medications or all medications? So like over-the-counter vitamins and minerals and that type of thing as well.
So here at the day program, we're now asking for full medication lists, including all the over-counter supplements, vitamins, all of that. I think if someone's been used to getting a certain, dosage of something, then I think it would be nice for them to continue to get that. So that's not a factor in how they feel or whatever might be going on. So I think the more the better. So we've got the box here, and then again, an extra box if you need more space or if you just need to scratch this out and provide a more up-to-date version. And then getting into toileting and continence. And again, you can indicate here that the person is totally independent and does not need any assistance, or they just need direction to the washroom. Or for some people, they have difficulty finding the washroom, or they have different cues that suggest that they need to use the washroom. So what are those tells? How do you know that the person, if they aren't able to articulate that themselves, how would you know that a person needs to use the washroom? So do they start to wander, or do they start to fidget, or do they need total care with using the washroom and changing continence supplies? So that would be important. And probably someone walking in blind would maybe not be very comfortable with that, but here we are in an emergency situation. And things like, where would they find those products and sorts of things. Moving on to hygiene, like some folks may not initiate general hygiene, brushing their teeth, things like that. So what kind of support do they need to do that? Do you need to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush and the toothbrush right in their hand? Do you need to physically do hand under hand and support the person to do that? What is their level of care for those sorts of things? Just general hand washing, anything you can think of for your routines. And then we're into mobility. So when we talk about mobility, we're talking about, rising up from a chair, getting in and out of bed, walking, or even self-propelling wheelchair. So do they need a little bit of help to get to a sitting position in their bed? What kind of cues do you have to provide them? So you need to kind of tell them step by step. Again, do you need that mechanical lift? Here it talks about, do they have a history of falls? So are there other things you have to keep in mind to monitor for falls? So again, here at the day program, our staff are checking on clients every hour, but some folks, we have permission to use a video monitor so that when they're in a less familiar environment, we can sort of watch for them to get up in the room, and the staff can respond to them before they may have a fall or maybe void in a spot that's not the washroom. So those sorts of things. And even being mindful of throw mats on the floor, like if you're taking the person to your own home, just really doing an environmental scan and thinking about that space and if there's any risks to the person. My favorite topic is food. So meals, like, is the person typically more like a snacker, or like big meals, need encouragement for meals, need reminders, or are they able to independently, prepare a meal and all of that? Or do you actually need some type of assistance? Again, all of these things. Even for some people, I know like microwaves and ovens, those sorts of things are unplugged. So would a person coming into the home not realize that an appliance is unplugged and plug it back in and then be at risk, or things like that? So all those little things that you've modified in your home to keep it safe or manageable. Think about someone coming in blind, maybe not really knowing those things. Okay, sleep. again, good directions here. Do they have a nighttime routine? Do they have a typical sort of bedtime? And do they like to watch a show before bed? Or, what kind of routines do they have? Are they usually up a few times through the night? Do you need to leave a night light on to help provide direction to the washroom? All of those sorts of things. Maybe they don't sleep at night and you're going to have some extra caffeine to stay up with them. And I think this is important too, the continence. So for some people, they can maintain continence through the day, but overnight they require a product. So kind of outlining that. Bathing. So again, would the person initiate that? Can they do it safely? What level of support do they need? Would they leave the tub running and think you might have a flood situation? Maybe they have a fear of water, and encouraging them to have a bath is going to result in, some sort of response to that. So just being mindful of those little things. Again, you know your person so well that these things are so automatic, but someone who's less familiar wouldn't know. We could say, nope, they go to the day program on Tuesday, so make sure they go on Tuesday so they can have their scheduled bath. Okay, moving on. So transportation. For us, most of our clients don't drive, but if they had access to keys, maybe they would consider it, especially if things seemed really out of the normal and they were worried, like they're looking for their spouse or partner or whoever it may be that's usually with them. So, do you need to put keys away? Or are they safe to drive on their own? Just thinking about what the person may be experiencing while their primary support is not available, and anticipating those changes. Getting in and out of cars. For some people, riding in the back seat is better because they can sit on the driver's side, which is a stronger side for them to get in and out of the car. So it could be little things like that you realize too, or even sitting in the front seat. Maybe you have another driver assisting you, which wouldn't go over too well. So those little things. Housework, which maybe some of you are laughing at, like, I wish, but there are some people who have who prefer to have specific routines and chores, and they vacuum the house daily, or they'll empty the dishwasher and things like that. So always keeping in mind that every person wants to feel a sense of purpose, and that they are competent in these sorts of things. So what are they used to doing, or what do you need them to do in the household to keep things running? So how they can support that way. Okay, the next category here, safety and technology. So again, a person who's just stepping in may have no idea that this person has a tendency to wander or leave the home. So if the person does go missing, are they just going around the neighborhood, and they'll come back because that's the routine, or do we need to be more concerned, and do they have an ID bracelet? Maybe some people now with different technology and cell phones and things, there's some tracking on devices. So what sorts of things like that have you implemented to try to maintain safety? Even knowing about alarms on the doors and different locks on doors, and those sorts of things, again, to maintain safety. Okay, on to support services. So again, do they have anything? What sorts of things are they involved with, or who comes into the home? Sort of who else should you be expecting or alerting to changes? we can fill all this stuff out, the care coordinator, because if there's an emergency, you probably want to alert them so that they may be able to put other supports in place. Again, what are they up to in their regular routines? Are they coming to the club here? Are there other places? So again, if you're the primary person and you had a medical event, but your person wasn't home, how would they know that they're at the day program and they're expected to return home at 3 o'clock? And if you're not there to receive them and they're left alone, or, you know, if the driver can't leave them alone, where might you find them and who needs to be alerted? So these sorts of things are really important when someone's trying to put together that puzzle. Okay, what we call responsive behaviors and mood. So responsive behaviors is just the person reacting to something happening in their world. So sometimes an unmet need. Like I said before, if you're the primary person and you're not there and they suspect or they know that something's happened to you, how will that affect their mood, even their cognition? So there's those sorts of things, but also just generally day to day, what are your observations? Does the person sundown? So as the afternoon progresses, is there a change in mood, behavior, energy? How do you support them throughout those changes, those transitions in a day? Is that when you would provide them, a bit of a rest, or is that when you would provide them with a little activity to keep them engaged while you make supper? So those sorts of things. And if there's not any behaviors and the person is with them and things are new, then they'll maybe be caught off guard. So this is more for if your person, you do know that they experience some type of behaviors and you know what those triggers are. So it's, like dark rooms, loud noises, like I said, the bathtub, running water. So what is the behavior? What may be causing it? And what are the strategies you use to support them through that? We're almost near the end. And then I feel like this is a really important part with the recreation background. How do we spend our time? So like I said, we all want to feel purpose and fulfillment. And if you're this kind of sub-in emergency person is going to spend a lot of time with them, how might you find purpose and enjoyment and spend that time together? So you can definitely add other activities here, but specific things like, Wheel of Fortune at 7 and Jeopardy at 7:30, and where to find some of these things as well. And then just general conversation starters or things to avoid talking about. So maybe politics or religion or, whatever it may be. And then just a big section there for what they like to do. Even for us, it's things like, do they like coffee or tea, and what do they like in their coffee or tea? Those sorts of things that for some people they can communicate that well, or make their own coffee, and others it wouldn't go over well if they had their coffee made wrong for them. So anyway, that felt like a just quick little overview. Like I said, I feel like it's fairly well laid out with a few cues and pointers, and it's just a matter of sitting down and filling out the information to the best of your ability. And if you need some help, then we can try to guide you as well. So stop sharing.
All right. So we will have time for some questions. So we do have one question in the Q&A right now. So where should people keep this plan?
Good question. So on that emergency care card, we have said like this, there's an emergency care plan located and it has a blank line. So whatever you think. It's kind of tricky because you want somewhere obvious, but also if your person saw it, would it upset them in any way? So whether it's like the side of the fridge, or if you've got like a little end table at your front door with a little drawer in it, um, somewhere that is kind of obvious but not gonna get picked up and stored by your person, maybe too. Top of the fridge with all the dust bunnies.
All right. And next question. So I saw where to input medication, but was there a section to input a medication schedule and where medications are located in the home for those who have to hide the medications? That's a great question.
Yeah, very good question. I'm just going to pull it back up. I don't think it specifically says that. Sorry, I'm just looking back through it. So I'm just going to share my screen again and look at what page that was. So here on page 6, you could put like those details anywhere in here. And we could always edit this to say, like, specify, like where medications are stored. That's really great feedback. I'm just going to scroll up to find the medication list. So the medication list is on page 3 here. Okay, so we can propose a few edits as well, and then it was down on page 6 where there's some details. I'm just going to jot that down. This is where it's so helpful to have care partners who are the experts living all of this. So where are they stored? And then a schedule for meds.
All right. So next question, where can we get the emergency card for your wallet?
Good question. So right now you can request it from us and we'll mail it out. Or if your person already comes to the day program, we could send it home. We can send a couple home, whatever you need. And then hopefully in the next week, I'll have a PDF on the website that you can just download and print yourself. So just ask for one from us.
All right. If you're traveling with your family member who has dementia, does this important information travel with you? Bring it in the car, maybe?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So that's all the questions right now. So if anyone has any more, we still have a few minutes, you can enter them in.
And then I'll just share the last part of the slideshow too. There was a couple extra pages here. So okay. So we talked about storing. So where will this be kept, and whatever makes sense for you. The important thing is to share it. So once you create it, it would be really great to tell, maybe like if you've got a close neighbor who knows, your situation and is sort of looking out for you, or those, other adult children or whoever else is in your network, just let them know that something like this exists. So again, if in the situation they kind of have a clue. But also it'd be nice if you did a draft version and shared it with them and just say, like, does this make sense to you? Like, coming in blind, if I wasn't here, could you pick this up and have some sort of a guide? And then I know that home care can be incredibly frustrating and challenging, and your respite workers don't have a lot of time to read these documents, but let's just say in a perfect world they did want to, it could also provide some help to them as well. And then we talked about updating it. So if there's some sort of major change that's happened, all of a sudden your person, maybe for the transportation, they were driving, but since then they've had their license taken away from them, that would be a really important thing to update. And just other, care needs. So like continence and transfers, those sorts of things. And then we talked about the care card in your wallet.
So we've someone who's raised their hand, so